Alright everyone, welcome back to Renovation Education. Today we're up in the kitchen and we're going to be talking about backsplashes. So let's go ahead and get to it. Alright, so today we're going to be talking about backsplashes. As you can see, this one's already done. I did this one about a year and a half ago. So since this one is done, let's go ahead to the kitchen where we're going to be doing the backsplash. Alright, so this is actually the backsplash we're going to be doing today. This is a little toy kit from IKEA we got for the kids to play, and we thought it'd be cool to put in a backsplash. So, as this might be a small toy backsplash, it's the same way of doing a real backsplash in a real house. It's just not going to want to do it on this wood, but for pretend this is good. On a normal kitchen, it'll probably be drywall, and you could just go over that as long as it is painted. If it's not, then you want to go ahead and maybe put some primer on there, then go ahead and get ready to tile. And if there's nothing there at all, make sure you want to use a green board or some kind of mildew resistant, because your sink here will be getting water in there, and you just want to make sure everything will be mold resistant. Or even use maybe backer board, which is a cement board. That will be even good too. So I know this isn't the right stuff to be doing on a kitchen, on my nice kitchen here, so we're gonna go ahead and just go over this. I'm not too worried about it. It's just a kid's set. So we are going to be using white subway tile on this tile job. So the first thing you want to do before you even do any kind of tile job is make sure your layout's good as far as what kind of style you're going to be doing. For this, I'm going to be doing a broken brick pattern, which will look something like this, and the next one on top will be going right in the middle. So it'll look something like that. But what I'm talking about as far as laying out, if you want to go ahead and put your tiles out, and I'm going to be using spacers here, I'll explain a little bit more later, but this for a rough estimate, I'm going to lay out all my tile like so, and you can see this gap right here. Now the best way to do it is by measuring, and I'll do ahead and do this, but you want to measure to where it's all kind of centered. So if I go something like that and do two slivers here, it'll look better because everything will be even. So that's probably how I'm gonna do it. And then the next layer, I'll go ahead on top and go something like that. So now the first thing we gotta do is, now that we got our layout set, is we're gonna have to get some kind of thinset. There's different kinds of thinset. I was just always told, when in doubt, use a modified thinset, because there's modified, non-modified. I know modified you're going to want to use on anything that's not your general wall, like backer board or anything really. When in doubt, use a modified thinset. So I have modified thinset. I'm going to go ahead and use that. So let's go ahead and grab some. Okay, so it's the next day. I had a few things come up. So let's go ahead. First thing we want to do is go ahead and tape everything off. And if you don't have one of these, you're missing something in life, because it's very easy to go ahead and match. That easy. So let's go ahead and tape it off. Right, now that everything's dropped off, I don't like to back butter. Back buttering is when you have your trowel. This is a 1/4 inch trowel, I think, by the way. This is a 1/4 inch trowel. Back buttering is when you put your thinset on the tile. I don't prefer that. I've always learned, do it if you have to. I've always learned you want to put it on the wall. And now, since these tiles are going subway, going horizontal, you're going to want to do a trowel vertical at a 45-degree angle if you can, and do it like that, because the way the tile sticks is you have your marks, and when you put it on there, it creates a suction, and that's how a tile basically sticks to the wall. So let's go ahead and put just a little bit on, because I have a lot of little cuts. This isn't going to be a quick project, as small as it is, a lot of cuts. So let's go ahead and throw some on the wall. Alright, now that I got that started, I already made my first cut. And you can see here, this is the cut side. That's the finish, the factory finish. You always want to try to hide your cut edge. So I'm going to put the cut edge in the corner, so when I grout, you won't be able to notice. And I'm also going to put some spacers underneath so I can kick it off the wall just a little bit. Okay, so now for a quick, easy way I cut, I just hold the next tile up, right up to the corner. I mark exactly right where that needs to be, because if I use the saw and cut right where my line is, the width of the blade is big enough for my spacer. So I'll go ahead, grab my speed square, go ahead and make a cut. Okay, so this is my cheap tile saw. It is a wet saw, so which means in here there's water. It was $100. It's cheap. There's a couple other ways you can cut tile. Not too sure what they're called, but you etch it, puts pressure on it, snaps it in half. Those are nice to make probably a cleaner cut than a wet saw. But if you need to notch this tile, a nice wet saw will be able to notch it pretty good. So let's go ahead and cut this. You can also use this like a table saw if you're making lots of cuts too, but I'm not too critical right now with having a nice straight line. So if I were trying to get a nice perfect straight line, I would use this, but this is for a play set, so eyeball it. Well, let's go ahead and cut it. Alright, so once I cut it, I like to file down the edge with a stone, so let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so here I just have a bucket of water, a stone, and you just go ahead and file it down. File it, get a rag, dry it off, and now it is ready for placement. Like before, cut edge goes on the side, and we'll use a nice factory edge where it's visible. Alright, now it is always good to go back and wipe off any excess grout you have on the tiles and clean it up as you go, because this stuff dries rock hard. So if you leave it on there, it's going to be a pain to get it off. It's worth spending 5 minutes now to get it off than it is taking 20 minutes tomorrow to take it off before you grout. So it is always nice to go back and clean up your tiles as you go. So notice I don't like back buttering, but it's just such a pain to get in this tight area. I'm going to back butter, which is basically getting the tile ready now, putting it on. So, and the way I figured out, you know, it's pretty easy. You get your bottom row, which is just level, and you get the broken brick pattern. You get the middle of that tile, mark in the middle, and just slap it dead in the middle. It's a quick, easy way to find. Now that the tile is done, I'm gonna wait probably a couple hours, come back, take out all the spacers, and wipe all the tile down while it's still semi-wet, so it doesn't turn into like cement and be hard to take off tomorrow. So now I'm going to clean the tools, and we'll come back probably tomorrow to grout. So we'll see you then. Alright, now that we got our backsplash done, I went through and cleaned up all the excess thinset. So the tile is now clean and ready to be grouted. So for grouting, I like to have a wash bucket and the actual bucket with the grout. So you're going to need your grouting tools. I got a little mixer here, and that's all you really need, because for mixing I like to use this. It's a lot quicker, but since I'm doing such a small area, I'm not going to go ahead and do this. It's going to get more stuff dirty. You are going to need a sponge. We'll put our sponge in the water and go ahead and mix our grout. Now this does always make a lot of dust, and grouting's very messy, so just beware of that. Put a little more. Alright, and for this, I don't always wear gloves when I do, because I'm grouting. This will just stain my hands black, so I'm going to go ahead and get some gloves. With grout, a little bit of water goes a long ways. So just add water slow. And go ahead and mix it up. You can see already that little bit of water went a long ways, and I don't even think I'm going to need to add more. I think I added the right mixture the first time, but go ahead and mix thoroughly. And that is a little too loose, so I added too much water, and I barely added any, so I'm going to add a little bit more grout. Alright, so for grouting, I taped everything off, but I did make sure I left about a ½ inch from my tape from the wall, because I do want to get a nice line down here. And that'll straighten out, these tiles aren't perfectly straight, so that'll straighten out a lot of these lines down here. So, and when you start, you don't want to do the whole thing at once. I like to do sections, but this is such a small area. This is about, you know, good enough for getting it all on there. So I'm going to go ahead and get this all on there. You want to make sure, you know, you're going to be dropping a lot. It's going to make a mess. You can't really avoid that. So you want to go ahead and work this in everywhere. Just keep working it in so you have everything pretty well covered. And I like to start at the top and work my way down, because you can see as it piles up down here, you can just grab it later and work it in at the bottom like that. So I'm going to go ahead and work this all in. Now that you kind of got everything worked in, you don't want to let it kind of sit for, you know, 5-10 minutes. Then you're going to be going back with your wet sponge. Now you kind of want to be nice and gentle with this, and you don't want to apply much pressure. Kind of go and work in, and you'll see the grout kind of change. And you'll be able to see where you've done and where you haven't done. And this will also show you low spots, high spots in your grout. So take your time with this. And you don't need to worry about getting it all off just yet. You kind of want to make sure your grout is worked in between the tiles at this stage. Like, see, I just found a low spot right here. I grab some grout, go ahead and kind of put it in there and wipe it off. And I like to very lightly get a clean side of the sponge. Just give it a little wipe. And that should be good. Alright, now that it's dried for a little bit, I'm going to come back with a somewhat damp, somewhat dry rag. And just go ahead and start lightly cleaning the tile off. And you can see that little spot right there, how that wouldn't clean up right there. That's because that was a little bit of thinset left, and the black grout stuck to the thinset. So that's why it's good to clean up before. So now I'll have to wait till everything to dry to clean that little spot off. But let's go ahead and keep lightly wiping the tile down. Alright, so it did have plenty of time to dry, so I'm going to go ahead and start doing the final wipe down of it. You just want to go lightly. And it's just still a little wet, so don't press down too hard, but just kind of give it a good wipe. So there you have it. That is the basics of installing a backsplash. And this was a lot harder than I expected. I've done showers, I've done backsplashes, and this actually took me, you know, it didn't take me longer, but it was definitely harder than it looks doing this little section. And if this were a real kitchen, I would seal this grout. I don't have any sealer on me, but I will make sure to post a link for sealer in the description. Something I would absolutely do in a shower or around a sink or anywhere where there's water. So I would definitely do that, but here it's not really needed. So, and I'll also post a link in the description for every tool that you saw me use and other products that I used on this job here. So make sure you browse the channel, because I have a lot of other how-to videos, and I'll have more to come. Subscribe to it, like it, leave a comment of anything else you'd like to see. There's a few more videos coming out, so make sure you check them out. Alright, thanks, see ya.